All right, from the Fairfax City, we are very grateful that Paul Derricott accepted our invitation to my show. Paul, welcome to my humble podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. Let's go back to the beginning of your life. Were you born like in a musical family? I mean, how old were you when you perhaps your parents pushed you into guitar lesson or piano lesson, that sort of thing?
We had a piano at home,
Yeah.
and my parents both listened to music a lot. Um, my dad liked sort of old blues music. Um, pretty diverse listening thing, but neither of them were musicians. They were both school teachers, actually. Um, and so I had music around the house, but not musical parents. My stepfather played the guitar. He was a big influence on me as a teenager. Um, and then but before that, I sort of started on saxophone. So my first instrument was the saxophone, which I still sort of I still use to write. Sometimes I sort of muck around on it, more than I don't perform on it. But I played a lot of saxophone as a kid, and I was lucky enough to be in an area that um, had this great extracurricular sort of out of school. You could go to it from a collection of schools band that was run by a local guy, Mike Butcher. Um, that was really informative for me, like getting to play music at a relatively high, for primary school. So, 12-year-old kids or something, pretty high level on the saxophone. And that sort of got my ears listening to things. And I think that's where it really started for me, like just getting that real, uh, the feeling of music being made around you with other people and that sort of thing. But that was all on saxophone to begin with, and my parents were very supportive, and I was very lucky to have that. Um, yeah, and then from there it sort of continued to develop. Like I still love the saxophone. I think it's very close to my singing range, my voice.
Yeah.
So I enjoy mucking around on the saxophone. I'm sort of a bit of a dabbler, and then I use it to compose, and I love it in my band. But that's where it started, for me, listening to music and all that started with the playing. Um, Before, like from saxophone, then when I went to high school, I wanted to play in Nirvana. Nirvana was big for me at that time. And there's no saxophone in Nirvana. So, I started playing the drums, and I've always sort of had bands, with some mates. We've always sort of had bands that play our own music, um, and I just sort of progressed, f- you know, from playing sort of punk rock stuff. I just got more and more inquisitive about the music, and along the way, I think that's an interesting thing to think about all the little touchstone moments that happen when you're like looking back on it now, being a sort of a full-time muso, how many little things that you can easily forget. Like when I moved out of my home to go to uni, Mum packed up all my stuff into a box, and in the box was a autograph book, which I'd totally forgotten about. Like a just a little book for autographs. I'm not sure. I don't even know if they still have them anymore, but I found this autograph book, and this was when I'd started studying at uni doing music, and in the autograph book were some of the teachers that were teaching me at university, and they'd come to my school when I was in primary school. So when I was like 9 years old, maybe 8 or 9, they'd come to the school and done a jazz performance. It was James Morrison, who's quite a famous jazz trumpet player in Australia and worldwide, and then his Australian band with his brother John Morrison on the drums. Um, Steve Brien on the guitar, who was teaching me at university. Glenn Henrich and I think Steve Aria they're local Sydney guys that I know. They're around on the scene. So it's a funny um, confluence of little moments that lead you to continuing. But for me, it started with the saxophone, and still I love listening to the saxophone and occasionally
Yeah.
playing.
Okay. Yeah. You say something very important. It's very easy to connect the dogs going backwards,
Mm,
but not going forward, right? So,
sure.
going forward, you take this direction, that direction, that direction. Okay, you continue, but going back, you say, well, exactly that teacher or that school or my mom putting me in piano lesson with her, that makes a big difference, right? So you went to finish high school. Any pressure from your parents about forget about music, become a lawyer, become a doctor, make
Yeah,
some money.
yeah, when I finished school, all I wanted to do was music. I had no interest. I had little interest in much else. Music was at the end of high school. It was certainly all I wanted to do. I did have uh, I did start doing another degree because I felt like I should do something a little bit more stable. I mean, I had, you know, not so much pressure from my parents, but a bit of a reality check from a few people that I was learning with probably had said, like um, pursue music, but maybe you want to have another thing as well. Um, so I started, but very quickly discontinued my other degree and focused more and more. And from then on, actually, it just got more and more focused, just laser focused. As soon as I started the other degree, I realized that's definitely what I don't want to do. I don't want to do anything else. I just want to 100% focus on music, um, at least for a time. And it just got more and more focused. Like my I mentioned my stepfather. He was a pretty big influence on my work ethic with it at that time. He was a tradie. So he did manual labor sort of work, um, put up and TV antennas, um, and he would work. I would do the same. I would try and do the same hours that he was doing. So he would go to work at 6 or 7 o'clock. He'd try and be on the job site at 7 a.m. So I'd try and be practicing from 7 until when he got home. So he'd work 7 till 5 sometimes, or big days, and I'd try and do. I had this whole practice routine of 6 or 8 hours of practice that I'd try and get through. And that was a great reality check, because then sometimes in the holidays or something I'd go and work with him as well, and that was how I sort of funded buying my first instruments and that sort of thing. He was really supportive, and it was a good lesson of dedication. Like I think it can be music can be a bit inspiring and all this sort of hard to articulate things, but a lot of it is just hard work and grinding away, especially to learn how to play an instrument well. You need some inspiration, of course, and love for it, passion, but you that doesn't get you playing your instrument at a high level. So, like that was a good lesson for me to learn, and something I think I still sort of carry on with. I still like to practice. I'm a practicer, I like to play my instruments and um, but yeah, I mean the composition thing is a different thing, I guess. The making music is a bit different, but I like that lesson that I learned from my stepfather anyway.
In general term, how difficult is to make a good living as a musician? I mean, you've been doing that for a while, and you've been in different bands and played for, I don't know, 25 years or so, right? And
Yeah.
it it still is a decent living. It still is okay, or you need to
Uh,
supplement that with teaching and doing
yeah.
clinics and doing other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean Sydney I'm in Sydney, Australia. That's a pretty expensive place. Sydney's a pretty expensive place to live. Um I think globally, like it's not a cheap city. And we're a long way from lots of other things. So um yeah, Sydney, it's tough. It's hard. The answer is it's hard. Um I've been lucky that I caught I started touring with pop bands around the time that I finished my studies, around 2006. I sort of started a little bit, but more 2009 to onwards. I got into some okay touring gigs, not lucrative, but just a living. Like I could live in a share house and afford to have a car. I mean, better than that, but wasn't not lucrative at all. But I've sort of maintained those relationships. So I still tour with some bands that were, because touring now is very hard because people don't sell CDs. So I think it's hard to monetize the product. Like in 2000 and whenever it was, 2014, before streaming was a big thing, people would buy CDs, and if you had an album out around then and you sold a lot of CDs as a pop artist or something, those bands still have a really big audience now. I think it's really difficult for bands post streaming to generate a fan base that are really loyal. So I still tour with a band. I'm on tour at the moment. We're doing weekends around Australia with a band that's like that. So that helps. And then in the middle of the week, I teach the drums, and I go and do little jazz gigs and whatever other gig that I can get. Because yeah, I mean, it is hard to make a living. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not touring around for 3 months and then sitting on my boat the rest of the time.
Right, I got you, got you. You attended the Sydney Conservatorium of Music, and you graduated in 2005 with a Bachelor of Music in Jazz. And I was listening to a lot of stuff that you have done, although that you became, at the time, a jazz drummer. You played different style of popular music, both performing, recording. So it's very, very good that you can manage that. Is it difficult to, when you go to school, you learn the general way to play, and then you can apply that to jazz or rock or pop, and it's difficult or easy to go between one rhythm of another?
I think like for growing up in for me anyway, growing up in Australia, like my parents listened to the popular bands, sort of the AC/DC is hard to miss, so when you grow up you listen
Sure.
to pop rock, Cold Chisel, the Police, these are the things my parents were listening to. Um, and you can't, they're obviously famous bands all around the world, but for me, like that's probably some of the earliest music that I remember when I was sitting in the back seat of the car going on holidays as a little kid or something. Um, to then, for me, the way it went with my musical studies is that my inquisitive interest in, I went from Nirvana to like more progressive music, like American bands like Primus, or like sort of punk progressive music. That was sort of the way it went for me from when I was 14 onwards. Um, and then that ended up going to jazz, which is, I think, perhaps, and maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'd be interested to know, talking to an American musician. I feel like that's not a, it's probably common, but I feel like in America you can play jazz and just listen to jazz and then maybe come to pop or something. But for me, it definitely started with backbeat music, sort of rock or groove music. And then I learnt jazz. And I love jazz music. I love the improvisation nature of it and the commitment to a harmonic structure, or playing on a form. I think that's really interesting, and just an incredible art form. The American tradition of jazz is just amazing. But probably as I've gotten older, I've wanted to go back to sort of more like what I started hearing with the backbeat, like a groove pulse rather than a light thing. But I mean, I love playing both too. I still do. I still play jazz whenever I can. So yeah, I mean, I think that's just the way I hear it. I think I'm probably not like a jazz player's jazzer, like it's like I'm a not, I'm sort of in between being a straight ahead jazz guy. Jazz guys are like, he's a rock guy, and rock guys are like, he's that weird jazz guy. So in between a couple of things, which is
Yeah,
cool. It's fine with me.
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And of course, one of the, I don't know if it was the first album or you need, but I think it was the boot leader and released the album Arrow. Big
Yeah.
C in what, 20, 10, 15 years ago. What memory do you have that one?
Well, I mean, that album was actually recorded in 2006, and
Wow.
yeah, it's a long time ago now, and that was I mean that I'm really proud of that album more and more. It was the first thing I recorded as a band leader with all my compositions, um, and yeah, that was uh, I love that album. I listened to it not that long ago, and yeah, it's a really beautiful record with some guys that I'm sort of admire those musicians. The guys on that record are some of my favorite musicians: Dale Gorfinkel, Mike Mikowski, Simon Francie, and Hugh Barrett. Um, we're sort of scattered around a little bit. The Hugh and the trumpet players still live in Sydney. I think Dale's in Melbourne and Mike's in Berlin. But they were guys that I went through the conservatorium with, and um, yeah, I love that music, and I love the sound of that record. It's very different to Coast, of course. It's much more of a jazz record, a sort of a
Absolutely.
jazz musician's record. But yeah, it's fun. It was a long time ago. It took me a while to put it out because I think it was my first thing. I was very self-conscious about the music, and the music was, I guess the first time you put something out, it's a bit of an ego. It's a confrontation of your ego. Like you want it to sound like a certain way, and I gave it to a few people and didn't get any feedback, and I think I just was like, not sure about it. And then I went overseas. I went and lived in the UK for a year, and then came back from that and decided that I should release it. It's an important document, and I wanted to put it out, and so we did. And that band did a lot of gigs when it was happening. Like it's not happening anymore, but we did a lot of playing together. So I'm really proud of that album.
When you were in London, you were in the UK, were you music related or something different?
Yeah, I went over with my now wife,
Yeah.
and I did a lot of playing over there. I mean, we sort of
Yeah.
stayed for about a year. We had
Yeah.
plans to stay a little bit longer, but the GFC happened while we were there, so it was sort of time to come home for us. I think, um, it was a tricky time to be over there for us as young people.
Yeah.
And I was playing with Aaron Oddinyong, who's a Kiwi piano player, Aaron S. He's great. You check out his record, man. You dig it. He's a New Zealander that was then at the time based in London.
Yeah.
So I was sort of touring around with him. My now wife was doing some study in Oxford, so we were living in Oxford, and on the weekends I'd go and drive down to London, and then catch a train, catch the Eurostar to Paris, and go on tour through Europe, which was pretty wild thinking back on it now. Like living in Sydney, it's
Of
like
course.
it was a very fun time, and yeah, it was cool. We were only there for a year, but after that it was sort of come back to Australia, put the Arrow record out, and then I started touring with a pop singer, quite a lot of touring with Lanny Lane, um, and then yeah, just sort of back into it. Touring with the Beautiful Girls started around 2014 for me, and continues now.
It's
So
good for you. A couple of years after that, you end up releasing, well, you play in a project called DerroDerro, 4 years, 2014 or so.
yeah,
And I listened to stuff in Bad Camp last night when I was preparing question for this interview, and it's pretty good, man. I mean, you pretty good. You as a drummer, right? And well, first of all, the people that play with you and you play with them in different albums, they're very good, very very good music, man.
yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
Sydney's I think Sydney's pretty great city for music. Like it's just the biggest city anywhere nearby. And everyone I mean, not everyone. Like there are other cities that do great things, like Melbourne and Brisbane. All the cities in Australia have great musicians, but a lot of people come to Sydney because it is the biggest city in the country. So it has an incredible array of musicians to play with. It's a really competitive scene. So yeah, I mean, there are lots of great people to make music with in Sydney. And yeah, the DerroDerro thing was just it was just another thing to do, you know, like I'm always writing music, you know, I'm always composing um, little ideas. That's for me, that's how it starts. I sort of I muck around on the piano, or I might muck around on the saxophone and get the start of an idea, and most of it never gets finished. Most of it's just like, you know, an idea that don't finish, but probably one in every 20 might turn into a song.
Yeah.
And then I think from the earliest music making I've ever had, I've wanted to write music, you know, like even when I was um, just starting on playing the drums with my mates, we didn't really learn other people's music. I mean, we learned it a little bit. Like I remember learning silly little things on the guitar, of course, but we always wrote our own music, like for better or for worse. I mean, it's some terrible music, but I've always been more interested in that, you know, like composing music and playing my own music. And I mean, I love other people's music. Don't get me wrong. I think, yeah, it's great, but I've never, I've never really wanted to learn all the details of a song or something, like on the drums anyway. You know, like yeah, I'm more on the piano or the guitar. I want to learn other people's music, but I like that idea of just making up my own things and stealing parts of it, but then using it however I want. So yeah, I think DerroDerro was just another avenue for some of that music to get cataloged, and we were playing together a bit. Dave, the guitarist on that, Dave Rodriguez is God Tet. I don't know if they put that down as another one to listen to. God Tet's a great um, Sydney band. They're doing lots of touring, and he produced a few things as well. So he's a great artist. Um, Gosh, I'm trying to remember who's on that record now. Eamon Dilworth's on it, who I still play with, the trumpet player, great Sydney trumpet player and musician. Um, and who else is on it? I can't remember. Ugh.
Okay. There is for people that never been to Australia, never been, but let's say in Sydney, are there many venues, small, big, that you can go and listen to music? I don't know, every night if you could, if you did have the time to go. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
bigger venues, smaller venues, coffee
yeah,
shops, this and that, right? So,
yeah, Sydney's. Again, I'm not sure what it's like, uh, in the States, but it can be tough. Like Sydney has, you can go and see music every night in Sydney for sure. Um, yeah, it's probably one of the things that Sydney, I think, I mean, I don't know enough about it. I don't run a venue, but it feels pretty disconnected. There's not like one spot where you go and like nightlife everywhere. It's sort of like you could be in the city, in the CBD, and then, that club's open, and then 6 miles away is another club, and like that's a fairly long. It's not like walking down a street and there's 15 venues that are all playing music. It's sort of like there's two
okay.
venues over in Marrickville, and then there's a venue in Surrey Hills, or there's different nights here and there. So that I think Sydney struggles a little bit with that, but it's also yeah. I think that's the way it's been here, but there's music every night. It's a great place to come and visit for
And,
sure.
yeah. Well, 6 miles for nothing, nothing here. I mean, Australia is it's a big, big country, of course,
Yeah,
and there gotta
yeah,
be a lot of good venues for jazz, rock, and of course, many, many musicians came from there. And you have played with a lot of people. You mentioned Lanny Lane and Miss Dawn and so on and so forth. Anyone, if you look back in your life, anyone in particular you say, well, maybe that band didn't play that great, but I did 20 gigs with them and I learned the most, and that I carry, forward to make money down the road with other bands. Is any particular period in your life you say, man, I learned the most? Didn't make that much money, but
yeah. I mean, I think it's always I think of it like a ecosystem in the ocean or something. You got to have the big fish and the little fish, and you can't just have the well-paying gigs and do none of the not so well-paying gigs. And I mean, I think they all teach me different things. For sure, like doing tours, Lanny Lane, we did a lot of touring, and that was pretty early for touring for me, like proper on the road touring. So I learnt a lot about how to be a musician. Like going on the road and playing the music, playing to big audiences, you learn a lot. For sure, like playing a big audience on the drums, you have to make it's a different, maybe different gestures on the drums. It has to be a bit more of a big scale thing, because if it's a big room, they're not going to catch the details of some of it. And also, you have to take care of uh, tempo. I mean, you have to take care of tempo everywhere, but on those big shows, it's really important that it feels really good, and it doesn't matter so much if your ride cymbal's not the right cymbal. Like the sound colors are not as finely tuned. It doesn't matter that much. But the broad musical gestures have to be
Yeah.
really on point. So those gigs taught me that. Lanny with that, and same with the Beautiful Girls, which is probably the two bigger touring acts that I've done. I mean, Aloe Black. Anytime you get to play in front of lots of people, you're reminded of those. Like a big audience where you're playing a groove, you've got to be front of mind with that sort of thing. But then all the jazz gigs around town teach you a different thing. I mean, probably being on the road teaches you how to be uh, a considerate person. Like musicians can be really elbows out. You have to be pretty self-absorbed and headstrong to dedicate your life to learning how to play an instrument. And then when you go on the road with a band, you might be in a car with five other people for 6 hours a day. You've got to sort of tuck your elbows in a little bit and be a bit considerate, and make sure you can do your job and all that sort of stuff. So they're good lessons to learn as well. I think that sort of stuff is what you learn in terms of learning music. Like I think I learned the most from, like, actually the musical part of it. I learned from my peers, like from the people that I play music with, the guys in Coast. Like they're amazing musicians. I learned so much from playing with Peter and Shannon and Michael. Like they're they're so great at playing music, and they remind me all the time of things that I need to get better at and do better. They're always pushing me, certainly, to make myself a better muso, which is so fun. Which is, like, that's the absolute joy of it for me. Like, that's the most interesting part of the whole thing.
Yeah. Being in a band is very difficult. It's like being married to five people at the same time, and you have your own wife at home. In the same way, oh, like you say, 4 hours go from city to city, then perhaps, I don't know, sleeping in a cheap hotel, and they waking
That's
up in the
right.
morning, and somebody would drink them too many beers the night before, and you need to go, hey, we need to drive now.
And you've
We
been
need it
on
at 7:30, and then at this and that, and you need to pay
following me around
babysitter.
this weekend. This is just what I did on the weekend, man.
Yeah, it happens, man.
uh,
It's tough. I go to concert, right? I'm gonna make a very cynical statement. I go to concert, right? And I want the show started at 8, and I want you guys to be sharp, play the best gig of your life. I don't care if you didn't have a good night's sleep, or the car broke down, or the bus was
yeah,
late, and I don't know.
yeah, man. I mean,
People
that's
pay
the way
good
it's
money to see a great show. I want
absolutely.
the best, the best gig of your life from between 8 and 10 p.m. And I don't know how you got there, or I don't know if you ran into an argument along the way, right? But
Yeah,
it's tough, man.
that's right. I mean, you're right though. Like that's showtime is 10 p.m. to midnight or whatever. You got to be like at your
Sure.
best.
Yeah.
And you're right. People pay a lot of money to see it, so you can't miss. It doesn't matter if you've been traveling all day or man, yeah, some wild stuff happens. Like, yeah, I mean, 2019, I did a tour. We were driving to the gig. We got rear-ended by a truck. We actually two trucks. It was a highway collision. We're in a bus, 20-seater bus with eight guys in it and all the gear. We got the bus got written off. We got all the gear out. The police brought in another bus, like, and it was crazy. We went and did the gig that night. Eventually, like we like it was like we traveled all day already, and then we got like this huge delay because we were all everyone was cool. We were cool. The car was wrecked, but yeah, and then you've got to go and do a gig, and people don't care. I mean that people care, of course, people care, but like they want to see the gig go great. Like if you're going to do the gig, you better do it properly. So
Yeah.
yeah, right, man. It's like they're lessons. Like there's no other way of learning that either. You can't learn that at music school, or you know, they don't teach you that at the conservatorium. You've got to like be able to get on with your bandmates, get whatever you need to feel good, and then play absolutely the best you can every night. So yeah, that's the school of music on the road, I guess.
Yeah, there gotta be a course at any school, music school in the world saying the business side of music or something, because it's playing the studio with your friend, no problem, right? You graduate, but the real world is very different, right? So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I find that the business, when I hear business, like music business course, I sort of always, I don't know what that means to, I mean, like it's like being Robin Hood for me. I think of it like that, like sometimes like you've just got to take what you can get when you can get it. Like I don't, there's almost, it's not that there's no rules. I mean, like of course there are rules to being people but like, I'll go and do a gig because my friends are playing it, the music's great, and maybe I'll get paid a little bit of money, and that's cool. Sometimes, it's the music is enough. Um, and then the next night, maybe I'm doing a silly gig that I'm not interested in, but I'm getting paid lots of money, and like sometimes I have to travel a long way to do a little gig that doesn't pay a lot of money, and sometimes, it's
it's
just
around
so
it's
just
around the
different.
corner. I
Yeah.
got you enough money to pay the bills, and you say when you are a drummer, not playing with Coast, but playing another band or with another famous person, it's they expect a lot of you, so you need to behave and be professional. Don't drink before the gig, I suppose. After the gig is over, yeah, you can have a cup of beer, but it's a lot of rules, and one of the imagine famous people are very strict because that's what they are famous, right? They have a reputation on the line. They hire you to do,
Yeah.
you're the drummer for 10 gigs and that's it, but and they have their own reputation, right? So
Totally.
and you need to behave and do well. Um, I was listening to the album. So before we talk about the third album, Ember, feel free to elaborate on how you guys put together a scheme in 2019 and then the live in 2033. 23, I'm sorry.
Yeah. The band, Coast, when I'll write the music and take it to the guys, and then we'll have a rehearsal, and it's not quite it's a workshop, I guess. Like the songs will be 95% finished, and then we'll play the music and sort of figure out how to finish them. Um, so I mean, Skim was sort of written on the back of our very first album, Coast. Just just in a very similar way. The band started by me writing some tunes and then inviting some people to get together and rehearse the music. And at the start of the band for Coast, I'd bring in one tune, we'd have one rehearsal, and then I'd record it just on just on a very basic recording setup that I'd take to a rehearsal studio. And that's how we did the first album, and that's sort of how it has continued. Like I'll write a tune, we'll work on it for a little bit, and then we'll record it. And that's the way it's sort of gone, even up till now. The live album was so when I write the tunes, I'll write them out in on manuscript, like writing music, and I'll also do a home demo where maybe I'll play saxophone or I'll sing the melody or I'll play some terrible guitar or I'm sort of bad at all these other instruments and then I'll maybe have electronic drums on it or something, just to send the guys how it sounds, so they can hear the sort of general aesthetic. Um, and I actually quite like them. I think probably maybe my next album will just be me recording little demos and not do it. No, just me in my bedroom playing everything by myself, and the songs go for a minute and a half. But I quite like them. And then but then to play with the guys in the band, my sort of my favorite improvising musicians. I wanted to capture some of the live energy of the gig, because the gig is I've I think it's a really great band to see live, like pretty pretty intense performers. So we play at the local the club that we like to play at is Lazy Bones, which is quite near my house, and they were kind enough to record it for us, and yeah, we just have a lot of fun playing there, and it's a good time. We sort of recorded about 4 gigs there, and I think the live record is maybe songs off 2 or maybe just 1, but it's sort of 2 gigs about 3 months apart. And it's just a fun document of what the band sounds like live. Um,
Sure.
I'd like to do it. I'd actually like to do a video version of it, so you can see it from your place rather than coming to Marrickville to see it.
It's like a video of that or not just audio?
Nah, just audio at the moment. Maybe next time. Maybe next time we'll do a YouTube.
Yeah, of course. People like visual things. And you
Yeah.
say that for in gigs in general, you guys don't uh bring CDs, or I don't know, you have everything on CD and everything in vinyl, or just
Yeah,
CD, or
we've got everything on CD.
yeah, and then
Oh,
you
sorry, not the live gig. We don't have the live gig on CD.
yeah,
That's just
yeah,
streaming. And the new one's on vinyl as well. So everything else is on CD.
yeah.
The latest Ember is on vinyl as well.
And then you guys bring t-shirts and
No, I need to
signed
do some
stuff.
t-shirts.
And
I'll do some t-shirts next time. I'll do t-shirts. I haven't done t-shirts yet.
at least here in the United States, people sell a lot. That's pretty much nowadays, like you mentioned before, it's very difficult to make a living as a musician. So they they try to sell, I don't know, $2,000, $3,000 worth of merchandise every night to
Yeah,
help with the expenses of the gig, right? So it is expected to, hopefully they will sell, I don't know, 100 CD, 100 vinyl,
yeah,
50 t-shirt, whatever. Here people buy, in the United States, very popular, buy
yeah,
t-shirt or souvenir, because the merchandise revenue it's a big part of the band touring. Unfortunately, that's the
yeah.
way
Of
it
course.
is. If you can spend, I don't know, $50,000 and record an album, you need to go on the road to recover that investment. And then if you supplement the ticket sales with merchandise and CD and meet and greet, or whatever you do, and to try to break even at least, man. The third album, Ember, is a very, very good album, man. I'm
Thank
very
you.
happy, man, that I discovered you guys. It's a very, very good album. Well, feel
Thank
free to elaborate what was the process of putting that together. And
Sure. I mean, like, a lot of that music was written in lockdown in COVID,
yeah,
and I guess I turned 40 in COVID as well, which was pretty depressing, pretty depressing thing to do, like have a Zoom birthday party. Uh, so I think probably for me, like it was a bit of a coming of age. Like I was like, man, I've got to do this. I want to put out the music. I like it. It's important to me. It's the only thing that, like, I love playing with other people, but if I didn't have the outlet of putting my own music out, I'm not sure that that's enough for me to play music professionally. Like we've talked about a little bit. Like there is the lifestyle sacrifices of being a musician. Like it's a tough, yeah, it's hard way to make a living. So if I'm gonna sort of do that, I want to have my own opportunity to put my music out. So it was just sort of reaffirming that commitment to doing it, that's the title is Ember. It's like the hottest part of the fire. Like the embers of the fire. Um, just maintaining that focus on being creative and putting the music out and staying positive in that headspace. And then the music's written. I live in I live not far from Sydney Airport, on the Cooks River, which is a long river that goes to Botany Bay, and It's one of the most polluted rivers in Australia. I think it's the most polluted river in Australia. It had a large industrial base here over the last 100 years, and now it's sort of the gutter for a lot of local areas. But it's quite a beautiful. So to me, the Cooks River is this sort of juxtaposition of quite beautiful in parts, and a beautiful walk along it, and also a very sad history of degradation and colonization. So I think it's an interesting place, and I spent a lot of time during COVID walking up and down it. You know, like it's about well, probably if you go inland, it goes a long way. I would walk from where I live in Marrickville east towards the water, which is about 10 kilometers each way. So you know, like it's a big walk, or I'd ride my bike along it and just think about things. You know, like there wasn't a lot to do, so you know, a lot of time to think, and then come home and write some music about it. So you know, the path and the river, which is on Ember, you know, is about that. It's about I'm on the path. There's the river. Sometimes you're on the path. Sometimes you're in the river. There are these shifting times of our life that we're flowing with the water, and sometimes we're looking at the water flow past on the path, and then just sort of ruminating on things like that. Kaima, which was the first single off the album, is a is the end of the river towards Botany Bay, and that's a place. It's a beautiful place, and a place that I spent a bit of time. I like to swim, so I like swim laps and swim in the ocean whenever I can, as much as I can. Sort of my hobby and a bit of my mental health routine. Sort of, you know, get the body moving, and so in COVID they closed the pools in Sydney, and I'd go and swim at Kaima, which was it was cold. It was cold and intense, but beautiful as well. So yeah, I mean I like writing music around a place wherever I am. I like music to sound of a place. You know, I don't want to play. Um, I guess that's one of the things that informs my overall, not a philosophy, but I don't want to play other people's music because other people's music was made in a different time and place. I mean, I love other people's music, but I want to add to the storytelling of my locale and where I am and who I am, and so that's I try and write the music thinking about the spot that I'm living or what I'm looking at and what I'm seeing, and not I like to take in global things like global music and American music and all sorts of music, but I try and keep it like a local, some sort of local feel. I mean, I think, you know, perhaps that's not that successful, but um, that's how I think about the composition thing. Think it's important to compose music to just so you can hear it in Washington, and it's different to perhaps music that's coming out from there because it should be. They're different places, man. Like, you know.
Absolutely. I imagine that the album was well received in your own country, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Than
yeah,
there in Australia,
yeah.
yeah. And but sometimes, I hear this all the time. I will interview a band from the UK. They say, "Well, we are good, okay, here, but we are well known in America." Or the other band, no, we are well known in France. And it's hard to promote your own music if you're local band playing in XYZ country, right? So it's hard to make a name for yourself sometimes in your own neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's right too. I think if you go overseas and then you come back, people want to know about it. But if you just stay in your area, it can be a bit like, oh yeah, I know those guys. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's the way it is. Sometimes bands are well known in different places and their own country. Feel free to now elaborate on the nominators, which is very, I really like that one as well, man.
Yeah. I mean, the Denominators was
Yeah,
that was a project with me and the bass player Brendan Clark,
yeah,
and another Hugh Barrett, who was he was on Arrow as well. You know, one of my favorite piano players in Sydney, and Dave Jackson on the alto saxophone, and James Muller on guitar, who's like, uh, he's an amazing guitarist, man, James Muller. So yeah,
Yeah.
we you know, we were playing together and just had a fun time. So we thought we'd record it, you know, and like that was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun, you know, like I love that band. I'm very proud of that music. Much more, much more straight ahead jazz thing than well, no, maybe not totally straight ahead, but more of a jazz thing. And James Muller, that guitarist on that record, he was the guest. He's just an incredible guitarist who was living in Sydney, and is now in Adelaide. So I'd encourage anyone that wants to hear like just the most killing guitarist, check out James Muller. Um, he's on a lot of Sean Wayland records, who's another Aussie musician who lives in New York. But yeah, James Muller, he's got his own records out as well. I'm not sure how many there are on Bandcamp, but he's really worth checking out.
Oh,
Really.
you see, it's very good actually. Yeah. 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 Another band you were involved with, I don't know if you're still Tiny Hearts.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff as well, man.
Yeah, that's a fun band as well. Like uh I still play with those guys in various other things. That band's not that band as it is not happening, but Eamon, the trumpet player, still runs a lot of bands, and Steve, Barry, the piano player in that, we still play together. Dave, I haven't played with Dave Jackson for a little while, but he's one of my favorite musicians around. And Tom Bodding's around doing lots of different things. The bass player on that record does a lot of Irish music now, actually. Um, plays banjo and singing. It still plays double bass. It's killing double bass player
Wow.
as well. Yeah.
Good. What are you, excuse me, what are you working nowadays?
Well, I'm just been doing the Beautiful Girls tour. The Beautiful Girls is a Australian pop band, so that's sort of been uh, really keeping me very busy the last sort of 2 months. We've been on the road
Yeah.
doing that. Coast has we're doing the album launch next week at Lazy Bones in Marrickville. We're going to tour next year, early next year. We're sort of lining up a tour to promote the album. Second half of the year is kind of tricky over here because we're going into summer. So summer, it gets real busy, sort of like Christmas break for us is when everyone goes to the beach. So
Yeah.
that's a real busy time. So we're going to do it in the new year. Do an East Coast tour up and down the East Coast. Yeah, so it's been busy. The Beautiful Girls have done. They're like a pop sort of reggae band from Sydney. So yeah, we've been doing a pretty big tour with them. The piano player from Coast, Shannon, has been doing that as well. So it's been fun being on the road with him, and that's been keeping me busy. And I've got two little
Right.
kids, a dog, and all that sort of stuff to take care of, taking them, walk them up to school, and all that sort of stuff.
Are your kids learning music or?
A little bit, yeah, yeah. They're both musical. They both play the piano and like to sing songs. And my son plays the guitar, so he's interested in
All
you know
right.
rock and roll, AC/DC.
Oh, of course. Who doesn't? Any possibility of coming to United States to play, but it's very expensive, right? To play here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get over to the States and do some stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I think we're probably. I mean, like if you can line it up, we'll come, but we'd have to get some visas and stuff. So I'm not sure that that's on the cards at the minute. I'd like
Yeah.
to get over there and do some playing. But yeah, I think probably we're gonna tour around Australia if we get some offers to go overseas. Maybe
Yeah.
it is very expensive.
Yeah.
Australia to the States is a long way too. Like sometimes musos come over from the States, and I think they forget how far it is. Like
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
long, long, long flight, and um, yeah. So we don't have any immediate plans to get over there, but I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
The music is very good, and there are many here where I live. There are many kind of jazzy places and many festivals. And but I know I'm very aware that the visa, yeah, you need to pay because you are earning money, so you need to pay an expensive visa to just the right to play here in the United States. And to make it worth it, you need to play, I don't know, 30 or 25 gigs. So
Yeah.
otherwise, you end up losing money. Why you want to lose money, right?
That's right.
You're better off staying in your own country and playing there than coming overseas and
Yeah,
losing money, man. But your music is great, man. I'm happy that I discovered the music, and I will check it out. All the other bands that you mentioned as well, the other guys, because I'm always learning, I'm always discovering new bands. I'm always trying to. I have my favorites, of course, but I'm always pushing the envelope, so to speak. They call it here, expanding my ways of learn new bands and new ways to do things and so on and so forth. So I'm very happy that it was very nice talking to you, Paul, and you're a great guy. Easy to
Thank
get
you,
along. Be
man.
careful with all the sharks there on the tarantulas and a spider in Australia. I've never been there, but I imagine that. No, of course,
They're
I'm
everywhere, man.
joking.
They're everywhere.
Take it easy, man. It was very nice talking to you. Good luck to you, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem, man. Take it easy.